Let's do Beverly Hills first. Actually, we might even just be able to do like 2 recaps in one video. I usually break it up so that it's 2 separate videos, but I feel like there's not much going on. So Sutton invited Garcelle and Kyle to go do something with her mom. I'm not sure what it was that she wanted as an outcome, because she's saying that, you know, she has a very strained relationship with her mother, that she feels like her mother is a narcissist, that she was raised by a narcissist and she married a narcissist. I feel like Sutton isn't aware, like she lacks self-awareness. She's very quick to judge other people, but she does not reserve any criticism for herself. And that is the thing that I feel separates a narcissist from somebody who has narcissistic tendencies. Because we all have narcissistic tendencies. You guys follow me like that. You know, I always say they're all fucking narcissists. Every single one of them are. And even us, we all have narcissistic tendencies. But that doesn't mean that just because we have narcissistic tendencies that we're an actual narcissist. But I think the thing that separates someone from having narcissistic tendencies and somebody who is an actual narcissist is that they are quick to criticize everyone, but they lack any self-criticism for themselves, because we're always our own worst critic, right? When you think of like a normal person, and I put that in air quotes because like normal is relative to whatever your perspective is, you know, whatever your worldview is. Normally, we are always most critical of ourselves. And I feel like anyone who lacks any sort of self-criticism, you might call it confidence, you might call it whatever. I feel like if you never have any sort of criticism for yourself, but you reserve it for everybody else, then you're probably a narcissist yourself. I just find that very interesting, because from what I've seen of Sutton, she's quick to call everybody a narcissist, including her ex-husband and her mother, right? And she dishes it out to all of the castmates. You know, they're all narcissists, they're all this, they're all that. But even her behavior, the way she has a meltdown, like when she was screaming at Crystal about your ugly leather pants, and that whole thing with Magic Mike where she tries to play it off like, oh my God, she's clutching her pearls. But if you watch that episode, and they played the flashback so many times, she was hyping herself up. She's like, I got all the singles. She's like, I wore pants and all this other stuff. And even when she was upset that nobody was giving her a lap dance, she was like, I wore pants for nothing. She tried to play it off like, oh my God, I'm on the board of the ballet. If you watch that episode, you'll see that it doesn't jive with how she was acting previous to not getting a lap dance. So I just feel like she does not have any self-criticism for herself, and she probably doesn't think it, but look, what narcissists actually think that they're a narcissist, right? Anyway, my whole entire point is that I don't understand why she would want someone like Garcelle and Kyle to have this very personal conversation on her behalf with her mother. It just made it felt pretentious and a little bit selfish. Did Sutton say to her mom, we're going to have this uncomfortable conversation on camera? I felt like it didn't happen that way. And Kyle, she was of the right mind. Kyle was like, you know, when you have your conversation with Reba, can you give me a heads up so I could get the fuck out of there? I mean, she didn't say it like that. I'm saying it like that. But like legit, she feels like her mother doesn't appreciate her. She's already telling everyone she thinks her mother's a narcissist and all this other stuff. Her mother watching this episode, she's not going to like how she's being presented. She's not presenting her mother in a good light. And I kind of feel like if you have this sort of relationship with your mother and you really are genuinely looking to fix it, this is something that you should do behind closed doors, you know? And her putting it out there, I do feel like she just wants, I don't know. It's like, yes, we want to know about your life, right? We want to know about your life and everything. But again, that you're like, are you trying to bamboozle your mother? Are you putting her on the spot? I don't know. It feels a little bit like that. Well, anyway, so she's asking Garcelle to talk to her mother. I don't even know why. And Kyle, in her confessional, she said it perfectly. She's like, you know, you don't even know Reba. Like, that is not a, like, I don't want to be around anywhere around the area when you're having that conversation, because this is not somebody that you know or whatever. And Kyle is of the right mindset. Kyle is like, well, fuck this shit. I'm not getting involved. And she didn't even like bring a gift or anything, which, by the way, let's talk about that gift. So I guess Garcelle wanted to do something nice and she got her a scarf, right? And the mother's just like, okay, nice. But look, you should never get something like clothes, even something like an accessory like scarves or a hat or gloves. You should not get any stuff like that for somebody that you've just met. You don't know what they like. You don't know what their tastes or whatever. So if Garcelle wanted to get her something, she should have just gotten her flowers, right? Like, you can't go wrong with flowers. But I also feel like it's kind of shitty of Sutton to really put Garcelle in this awkward position. So Sutton tells Kyle and Garcelle that like her mom really praised Christian, her ex-husband, and that, you know, the only thing that she was worried about was like if Sutton was going to have enough money to still continue taking care of her mother and like maintaining like the lifestyle that she had and all this other stuff. And she said that when she opened her store, her mother didn't really acknowledge her and didn't praise her or anything like that. But again, this is stuff that a friend is not going to be able to navigate with you, no matter how good that friend is. The problems that Sutton is presenting to the world is something that is best suited for a professional therapist. No matter how good of a friendship you and Garcelle have or whatever, Garcelle is not a professional. From the trailer, it looks like it blows up in Sutton and Garcelle's face, more so Garcelle, because from the trailer for the upcoming episode, you know, Garcelle is saying to Reba, you know, your daughter just wants to be acknowledged by you and da-da-da. And Reba's just like, well, I don't think it's any of your business. Yes, exactly. How do you think this woman was going to react because you are a stranger to her? This is the first time you're meeting her. That's why I feel like Sutton, she is in it for the camera. She is willing to do anything and everything just to have screen time. And now the other ladies, they have their own separate scene. And I gotta say, between the two scenes, I enjoy Kathy Hilton's scene so much more because that felt interesting. Like, I was not interested in whatever shit was going on with Sutton that she's trying to drag Garcelle and Kyle into with her mother. It was like awkward. It's like something for an episode of Dr. Phil or something. I don't even know what. I enjoy the scene with Kathy Hilton more. So Kathy decides to host like this beautiful dinner in her house. And let me tell you, when you have dinner at Kathy Hilton's house, it's like basically going to a 4-star restaurant. Everything that you would find at like a high-end restaurant, she has it right there in her backyard. So the ladies come dressed beautifully. They also start talking about Dorit's divorce. And you know, I've said this since the very first episode of the season when that whole thing with text messages and whatever else. And I said, your ex-husband, your ex-whatever, if he is reaching out to a friend, even if you're not close to that friend anymore, it's because he's building himself up for ammunition to use against you in divorce court. I don't care how benign it seems, but also PK is so adamant about this separation. And I said, you know, even though I don't have any proof, I said, I feel like there's already another woman involved. We don't know, but I would not be surprised if there is already another woman involved. And it's just like the way that everything is going. It's like, you want a divorce that bad, it has to be like, I feel like it has to be at like some sort of like breaking point. And usually it's like between the two of them, it does not seem like anything of that caliber unless there was another woman. I feel very strongly that there is another woman involved. So anyway, we also see a scene with Kyle and Mo. She's like at the gun range and whatever else. She's saying that, you know, like the house feels lonely. It's like a nice little scene. I don't know what the hell those two are doing. Like, eventually, sometimes it does happen that you fall out of love. So I think that maybe they fell out of romantic love with each other and they're just like both at some like midlife crisis or whatever the fuck. But again, everybody has always heard rumors and speculation that Mo has always been stepping out of the marriage. So maybe it just came to the point where Kyle is like, you know what? I like the kids are all grown and like there's no reason to keep up with the charade anymore. So maybe she's at that point where they could still have a friendship with each other, but it's like, no, you've already been with like other people, like, you know, like that part of the marriage is over. We could still maintain a friendship and whatever. I mean, her youngest is already an adult by now, so there's really no reason to keep on with it. And they've been married for like over 20 years. So there's already a split of property. I don't feel like they're going to get a divorce just because their finances are so entwined that it's going to be so messy. They're not going to have anything to fight over with kids because, again, Portia's already an adult. So there's nothing for them to fight over as far as kids are concerned, but there's a lot to fight over with assets. And even as friendly as you guys are now, once it heads to divorce court, it's always ugly because you always feel like you deserve more. And the person that feels like they have to give more don't want to give more. You know what I mean? Dorit says that PK sent her like this 7-page email saying that, you know, starting from this date, you're going to be responsible for the mortgage and everything that is connected with the mortgage, like the bills, the utilities, and all this other stuff. And, you know, she's saying that he wrote out stuff about custody and everything. And he basically threatened her saying that if this doesn't happen, you know, I'm going to file for divorce and everything. And she tells the ladies that like in 6 months, they'll have been married for 10 years. Erica says that like in California, if you hit the 10-year mark, then it's 50-50, it's community property, and it's considered like you're considered a long time marriage at 10 years. So everything gets split 50-50. It doesn't matter whose fault it is or who initiated the divorce. 10-year is the benchmark, right? And when at the time that they were having this dinner at Kathy Hilton, she says that it's 6 months away from the 10-year mark. But by now, it's already been at the 10-year mark. I don't know if they had officially filed for a divorce, but in California, you don't have to officially file for divorce. In California, you could file for legal separation, and the court will count that date that you submitted a legal separation, even if divorce proceedings have not went into motion. Whatever date it is that you officially say that you are separated is what the court takes into consideration as your separation date. So my question is, when was the official date of separation? Was it shy of that 10-year mark? I feel like PK probably did that. I feel like PK probably filed some sort of official separation. That's my big question. I'm sure that's everybody's big question. I mean, as far as we know, there has been no divorce filing yet. So I'm wondering if there is an official separation filing. And if it was past the 10-year mark or it was right before the 10-year mark. So they're talking about that. Erica was like, look, you can hate me for saying this, but you need to get the fuck out. You know, like, what are you waiting for? And, you know, they ask her, like, do you think PK still wants to be married to you? She says no. Kathy says to her, but, you know, he was a good father, right? And Dorit is like, honestly, no. And Kathy was like, I thought you were going to say yes. I thought you were going to answer yes. And she says, normally I would have answered yes because I protected him. I protected his image. You know, there was like this whole flashback about PK getting a DUI. You see Dorit like making an excuse and saying, well, it was an alleged DUI and, you know, he didn't get arrested. But she says that now she's not doing that anymore. She's not protecting his image anymore. And she says that, you know, like, he's not a great dad. He's an absentee father. You know, he's never around. There will be days where he would just up and leave and we wouldn't know where he is for like 3 weeks or whatever. And she said she was the one who's always been there for the kids. Erica says, you know, I've seen this so many times. One side is talking about finances and the other side is talking about, you know, whether you're a good parent or not. That's when you guys come to blows, right? And it is true. I've seen it so many times. If you are somebody who does not know anybody who is divorced, then kudos to you. But I think the majority of people know somebody who is divorced, right? So, and that is how it always seems, right? Because when it does come to blows, it's always finances and the kids, right? She's telling Dorit to like, get the fuck out, get a lawyer, you know, don't wait for it to happen. And then legit, I don't know what the fuck happened, but Kathy Hilton said that she was part Chinese from 300 BC. And Bose was like, what? And the ladies were asking her, did you take like some sort of like Ancestry.com DNA, whatever? And she's like, no, she's freaking saw some like voodoo Buddha man out in Italy or some shit. I don't even know, some spiritual tarot card palm reader or something who was like, she's part Chinese from 3000 BC. Listen, when you have that kind of money, you could be kooky like that. You could be part Chinese from 3000 BC. You could be whatever. I mean, I don't know. So that was the episode, guys. That was basically it. Okay, let's get to third part of Salt Lake City. I feel like there wasn't that much going on. This reunion was lackluster. I mean, I felt like the arguments was bullshit. It wasn't that interesting. I don't even think that they needed to make it into 3 parts. They could have just done a 2-part reunion and it would have been fine. So the second part is like Britani is out there. They're doing a toast and Andy asks everybody to say something nice about each other. They all say something nice about each other. You see Britani legit in like the background and like behind the set. And she's saying something like, I should be out there. I want something nice to be said about me. How come I don't get a toast? Like legit, I don't know if she's coming back or not, but I feel like she might just come back just because she is like, you remember like the first few seasons of Mary Cosby, or earlier seasons. I feel like Britani is kind of like at that moment, right? And she did get an opportunity with another Bravo show. And I feel like if you're getting another opportunity within the Bravo network, they're not done with you. And I feel like because of that, we might see her coming back. I don't know. She is messy. She's a train wreck. She is legit a train wreck. They like that. right? They like that. It gives them something to talk about. And it's like they like these messy ass sloppy people. So I feel like maybe she'll be back. I don't know. Britani was saying to Bronwyn how Bronwyn was talking shit about her to people that they know. And that was why, like, you know, a woman didn't want to watch her kids or whatever. And Bronwyn's saying, like, no, that never happened. And Britani's saying it did happen. Andy Cohen was saying, yeah, but in your casting video, you already said that your children were estranged from you. They rolled the casting video where she did say her daughters don't talk to her and whatever else. But Britani is saying, well, you know, it's a hit or miss. You know, it was like whatever. I don't know. The fucking girl's crazy. I legit think there's something seriously fucking wrong with her. She is legit like batshit crazy. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with her. But anyway, she's going back and forth. And then Whitney and Lisa, they get into it about, like, you know, whether she could burn it with Lisa about that whole rumor about the threesome. And Lisa says, well, you're a fucking liar. I've said this so many times, you know, Whitney, she's always talking shit about Lisa and John's marriage. Lisa's doing sexual favors. Lisa gets blowjob for jazz tickets. You know, John and Lisa's having threesome. It's like every single season she has something to say about the marriage. And I've already said, you know, I feel like it's because she is jealous of their marriage. Of all the husbands, John Barlow is the best husband. I truly feel that. And I also feel like even though she's so quick to say that Meredith and Lisa are triggered, I feel like the person who is actually triggered is Whitney. Because of everybody in the cast, the only two people with a confirmed infidelity is Justin and Whitney. They are cheating on their spouses to get together. Justin cheated on his wife and Whitney cheated on her husband. So if anybody is triggered, it's the two with a confirmed infidelity. It's those two. So I find it really ludicrous that she's trying to put it on Meredith or on Lisa, especially when Whitney, you were the cheater and the mistress. So if there's any swinging going on, this girl legit was like dancing on a stripper pole. She was doing confessionals where she was slapping her ass cheeks. She was like in lingerie and her husband was like in his boxer shorts where they were like spreading mud around each other and slapping each other's asses. If anybody's into kinky swinger shit like that, it would be Justin and Whitney. So I find it weird and I feel like she's deflecting because that is her. And she's putting that on Lisa instead. Because legit, and I feel like Lisa, she should have been quick-witted. She wasn't quick-witted. I wish she would have been. She should have said to Whitney, she should have said, well, Whitney, of everybody sitting at the table, the only one who has been a cheater is you and your husband. That's how you guys ended up getting married. So, you know, if you're hearing about anybody having threesome, I would think that it would have been you and Justin. Because didn't Justin cheat on his wife and didn't you cheat on your husband? That would have left her gagged because it was 100% true. Then, you know, she would have been all flabbergasted and be like, no, blah, 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 blah. Or she would have screamed at the top of her lungs, you know, like when she did in Bermuda and was like, you're exploiting my vagina at the parking lot like a fucking lunatic. And, you know, she makes such a big deal out of it. But like legit, I read Heather's book. Her vagina was not mentioned anywhere in the book. So it would have been like egg in her face. But Lisa became very reactive and emotional and whatever. And instead, she wasn't quick-witted. But she should have been able to put two and two together and just been like, well, you know, it's funny that you're always talking about my marriage considering that you and Justin are the cheaters. Anyway, that was the freaking reunion. There was like nothing else. I didn't like how Mary was treating Meredith. At the reunion, she was like, thought you were really pitiful and whatever. I don't like that Mary has this like, my shit don't stink attitude. Listen, I don't care how sympathetic that relationship with her son is. You could have a very sympathetic scene and whatever else. That doesn't erase you from being an asshole. I still think she's an asshole. Like, I don't enjoy watching Mary because of stuff like that. Okay. So even though, you know, I could feel very compassionate and sympathetic to like what she's going through with her son. And I could feel very emotional about that scene with her son. That still doesn't take away from me feeling like she's an asshole. And I felt like when she was saying that to Meredith, like, oh, I thought you were pitiful. Like, no, I think Mary is pitiful. She's supposed to be a woman of God. She runs a church. Like, no, like this woman is like the biggest hypocrite, okay? All these religious Christian zealots, they are the biggest hypocrites. These Bible thumpers, it's like, this is not a Christian woman. She's all, and that's the thing that I don't like about Mary. She acts like she's holier than thou. Like, no, I think plenty of times you look pitiful, Mary. You look pitiful. She has this like superior attitude. And here was the really great part. Andy Cohen asked this Meredith, heard that you talked with Jen Shah. And she said, yes, Jen called me from prison. It was like a 10-minute phone call. You know, obviously I can't call her. And she called me and I accepted the call. And then, you know, everybody was like, well, why would you even talk to her and all this other stuff? And Meredith was like, well, look, she's serving her time and she's paying restitution. What more do you want from her? And here's the thing. Here is what I don't get, okay? Now, the majority of the people that watch these Bravo franchises, Bravo is a very liberal network. They believe in stuff like prison reform. They believe in prison rehabilitation. They believe in second chances, and they believe in social justice and everything. So Mary, this religious leader, right, because she's supposed to be the leader of her church and is supposed to be a Christian church, I find it very ludicrous that she's sitting there being very judgmental. Meredith is saying to her, well, what more do you want? She's serving her time and she's paying restitution. What more do you want her to do? Yes, exactly. If you are paying your debt to society for your crime, then that is what prison is for. You are being punished for your crime. And once you're punished, that is it, right? That is the whole point of prison reform and social justice and criminal justice and, you know, rehabilitation and everything else. So Mary, Miss Religious Christian woman there, she is supposed to believe in turn the other cheek, right? An eye for an eye is a Jewish belief. That is in the Torah. So I just find it very hypocritical for Mary to be the leader of her Christian church and being so judgmental. She is like the most judgmental religious leader I have ever seen on my TV. So anyway, I didn't really enjoy the third part. I thought it was very lackluster. I mean, it was like, what the hell? I was expecting for some powwow to happen, and what we got was Britani. It was like expecting this big wave, and instead you get this little puddle, and that was it, guys. Like, what did you think of the reunion? What did you think of the season so far? I mean, like, legit, do you want Monica or Jen Shah to come back? I feel like it would be a little bit better if we got Jen Shah back. I actually think it would be pretty awesome. I'd rather have Jen Shah come back than freaking Britani. I do not want to see Britani's annoying ass on TV ever again. And Jared treated her like shit. Like, they posted up all the shit that Jared wrote, like on Instagram and all this other stuff. He was basically saying like the only reason why Britani got even cast on the show was because I gave her relevance and everything. Like, he talked to her like she was like a piece of shit on the side of the road. And like, she's like legit, like, I love him and whatever. Like, she is a bad mom. You're putting a man like that above your own children who treats you like shit? That is crazy. That is like legit crazy. He doesn't even treat her good. He does not treat her good. He was like talking shit about her. He was talking shit about Bronwyn because Bronwyn said that she heard that he had like a small dick. And then he was saying something like, you know, I'm twice the size of any man you've been with and all this other shit. It was legit crazy. I felt like that woman needed an intervention or something. But anyway, that was the reunion. Like I said, it was a snooze fest. I didn't enjoy it. They usually save like the best for last. And I was like expecting a wave and I got a fucking sprinkle, a puddle. So I don't know if Britani will come back. I kind of feel like she will come back just because she's such a clown that, like, you know, it's like she's a train wreck that you can't help but watch, even as annoying as she is. Over there in Beverly Hills, it was kind of like slow also. So, you know, the episode wasn't that great, but I did enjoy, or not enjoy, but I felt like it was a little bit more dramatic or like more, you know, whatever. Anyway, guys, that's it for the recap. Super Bowl Sunday. And don't forget to hit the like, follow, subscribe, leave me a comment, and all that good jazz. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.